Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences, raw conversations, one destination for it all. E360 TV.
There we go. Now, if you guys see a little echo, we're working on that, but bear with it. I'm going to turn my volume, which is here. We have a lot of people in the room, and so it's a little different than usual. There. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me. We're using the audio from my laptop, you guys. And so your feedback is going to be important to us here today because we're winging it. Shout out to the team. I see 158 of you. Come on in. Come on in. There we go. Now we're getting serious, right? So today it's all about trauma, but not in the aspect you might expect. It's not about the poison as much as it is about the antidote. The antidote which provides that low-hanging fruit that we provide the people we serve, which means you went through something so that you could know a little something that you could then share with others to help them through, you guessed it, something, okay? So we have some people here today, and while you guys get situated and they get situated and the rest of you come in, take a look at this. Okay, I'm eating well. Well, you all should be used to that. There are two of me here. You'd think I'd be eating that up. No pun intended. But I am not. But you guys, let me see you in the comments. Sound off. If it sounds extra crazy for you. So here's what we're gonna do. We want to talk today around the table about how people have dealt with their traumas. Here's one thing I want to talk about today. Big T, little T. I meant to talk about that yesterday at the event, but we didn't get around to it. So let's try to hit on that today. If you had a big T or a little T, is there a middle T? Trauma is trauma. And a lot of you know, you've heard me say it. Dr. Lauren, for me personally, I absolutely love myself some trauma because I believe as a kid, I know that when trauma entered my life at the age of 9, it was the very moment that what is greater than me literally marked me for greatness. I'm still trying to get there, but everything within my journey falls under the category of something great. And that's what we're hoping to get you to today. So without further ado, let's bring them in. We have a few people in the house today. Come on in. I'm just going to pop them in across the board. I'll wait for Miss Stephanie to sit. There she is. Dominique. There's a photo. Big Country Conwell. Better get on the phone and tell somebody. Martha Katawi and Brad Gorman is in the house. Is Brad on the screen? There he is. Okay. Wow. There's a whole boatload of Nicole. Is she in here? Yes, I think she is. Okay. So I'm okay with that little bit of echo that I'm hearing. It's been worse. And it's not what we hear. It's how we listen and what we do with what we hear. Can I get a name? Oh, wait. It's okay. Yeah, okay. That's what I was hoping for. So, yes, I'll start it off. There's an amen. So let's just go around the room. I'll start with Tracy. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you.
Can you guys hear Tracy? Can you hear Tracy?
Did you hear me? No?
Oh, it's a lag.
We're checking things out, you guys. Stay there, all 795 of you. Don't you go anywhere. So they couldn't hear Tracy,
No, I think it's just a lag.
but the volume.
The volume's good. Yeah.
Okay. We got a little lag. I don't care about that if y'all don't. It's not like we didn't enjoy those Japanese monster movies back in the 70s. Okay. So, Tracy, let's just everybody think about a one-liner as far as what category of trauma you want to specifically speak to today. So it could be emotional, or you could say divorce, loss of a child, some type of diagnosis, foster care, divorce, death of a loved one, death of a pet, whatever it was, car crash, military experience. What category do you believe? And if you could, in your own mind, do you categorize it as big T, little t, middle T? Okay, and I don't even know if middle T is a thing, but it will be after today. So, Tracy, what say you?
Let's say hello everyone. My name is Tracy Randolph from the Reset Global Group, and I want to focus on domestic violence.
Domestic violence. Okay, thank you for that. And a little disclaimer. There's going to be food in my mouth. I'm kidding. That's not the disclaimer. The disclaimer is this. If you feel that something you hear is becoming something of a trigger, reach for someone or reach for something or step away for a moment, especially if you're watching this solo. We don't want you to be adversely affected. Now, also, if you should be triggered from time to time, you're going to see the trauma hotline, the 800 number, ticker tape across your screen. Hop off or pick up your handheld device and dial the number. Okay? All right. And also, you can reach for us through your comment section. So, we started with Tracy Randolph. Sitting next to her is Nicole F. Smith. Nicole, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you.
And what trauma would you be speaking to today? It's your camera. Your camera, not me. And I know it's difficult, y'all, not to look over here, but do it. Try it. I know it's near impossible, right? I'll try to turn it down. I'm kidding. But Tracy, seriously, what type of trauma, what category, and I'm sorry, Nicole, yes. I was focused on this, y'all. It was all about the bagel.
I'm Nicole F. Smith. Good morning, everyone. And I want to focus on the emotional trauma. And whether it's big T, little T, I don't, I think it's different for everyone in regards to that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is that Stephanie? I see you looking all around. Stephanie, what about you?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Davis, and I'm focused on loss of.
Lots of them. Okay. So that would be, oh, my husband's going through that right now. Just lost his mom a couple of weeks ago. And that is very traumatic. Okay, so great. And this is great because this is a super highway. Everybody's got a lane. So far, no two are the same. Kind of like life, right? Ding. I don't have the bell, but there it is. Right now, next to, you might see a family resemblance. That's because Dominique on the is coming up next. What about you? What category and what lane? Good.
I think I'm going to focus on psychological trauma.
Psychological trauma. And what's your name again?
Dominique.
Okay, Dominique. Okay, psychological trauma. Big T, little T, MT.
Big T.
Uh-oh. Ding. Brad Gorman of Gorman and Gorman. I'm sorry. Gorman of Beverly Hills. Oh, no, wait, that's Zinman first of Beverly Hills. Brad Gorman, PR guru. What about you? Now, wait a minute. EM mentioned that too, though.
Oh yeah, so I just started EMDR in therapy yesterday. I was talking with everyone a little bit about that before, but I think today, for today's purposes, I'll talk about family trauma. I'll talk about suicide in the morning, and I'll talk about, big T, little T, all the T.
Okay. Martha Glory, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing awesome. Good to have you here. Now, Martha, you might hear her speak a little more than most of us here today. Martha is the founder of Trauma X, and a lot of today is to help point some interesting. Oh, you want to hold that? Thank you. We want you to get to the September 12th through 14th event, Unbound, here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, which is a trauma event. And Martha is also the visionary founder behind a community known as Trauma X. And we'll talk about that a little bit today too. So Martha, what category? How are you rating it? And so forth.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Martha Glory Kartawi, and I am going to focus today on, I am a trauma therapist, and so I have a lot of, or a trauma coach, but I have a lot of experience around trauma because I've experienced almost everything that you can imagine: physical, emotional, spiritual, sexual, all of it. But today, for today's purposes, I'm going to deal with spiritual and sexual and the effects on our nervous system, because our nervous system does not differentiate between big T, little T, or middle T. We all T's, so we're going to focus on that today.
Okay, so you said any trauma we can imagine. Right now, I'm seeing you as a newborn hanging from the mouth of a pterodactyl, being soared over the Appalachian Mountains. How was that? I'm kidding. I'm just saying. Right, I know. You know I'm going to be silly. And why? We are going to giggle and laugh and yuck a little bit through the day, because there are some people who need that. That's why comedians are so successful at bringing in difficult conversations through comedy. So if you need to laugh out loud to keep from crying inside, by all means, do it. Something I did and mastered for decades, because it's a start. This is like a splinter. And if you get it up and you get it out, you can do something else with it. And you can walk away with some real antidote, not just the poison. Can I get an amen? One more. Popping it on the screen. There you go. Okay, moving right along. Oh, here he is. I know y'all are thinking, how did they get to Wayne Johnson? It's not, you sillies. It's Big Country. Brian Conwell. How you doing, man? Finally meeting you in person after how many years? 7, 8, 9 years. You've been on our mind and on our radar, coming on the shows and so many others. Our good friends over at Shift Magazine. You were just on the cover. That was my favorite cover of 2022, the Shift Magazine cover, and you were just on the cover. So representing all of our veteran community, past, present, and future. I can't think of a better guy. So what category and what lane are you covering today, Brian?
What's going on, everybody? I don't know if I'm as ugly as Dwayne Johnson, but it is what it is. We're going to be focusing on the military aspect of trauma today. What it can do to you physically and mentally, and process of transition out and how it can be, but also how it's easy.
Dean, love it. Glad you're here, man. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Miss Sheema Stroud.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sheema Stroud of She Talks. And today I'm going to focus on, I wanted to do big T, little t, all the T's, but we're going to talk about bullying for me and the resilience that was built after.
Charles, let me talk about my trauma. His name is Charles Maddox. But you know what, Charles, you're right. Bagel isn't on my list. Okay, I'm really traumatized because I'm going to pay for this tomorrow. You know you should not be eating no bagel. Public school, Charles. Stick to the metabolic balance. Thank you, brother.
You got caught. That sounds like you got caught.
What?
I said, that sounds like you got caught eating bagels.
Oh, I did. Because he's on the program, so he's like, hey, well, let's go there. We're going to start there. We're going to talk about accountability. Thank you for that, Charles. Let's talk about accountability. I want to ask, by a show of hands to the panelists, the entry point of the trauma you will be addressing today. Were you 20 years or younger in age? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us. And how many are there total? 7, 8, 9. I gotta count on my hands, and I have a hand in the air, so I'm out. 1, 10 of us. So 20 and under. Keep your hand in the air. 10 and under. 7 and under. Almost all the hands are 5 and under. 3 and under. At 3. And then there are still 4 of us with our hands in the air. Okay. My point with doing that is trauma can begin before you even feel like you've begun. In some cases, I'll use my own, simply because yesterday was the foster care, and yesterday was the 105th birthday, would have been, of mother number 2, who caused a lot of trouble and a lot of drama. But she played the role that she was chosen to play in my journey. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for it. So it all comes around full circle if you wait on it. And we are told that no matter what it looks like, you're able to count it all joy. Okay? So we're going to start with Nicole. How about you? You said at 3, and you were very adamant about it, as if it feels like yesterday.
Yes.
So in 2 minutes or less, try your best to take us into the moment that you have chosen to share with us.
I'm sure my trauma was before 3. However, at 3 is when the memories start to form. So I have significant memories at the age of 3, and I know where I was. So my emotional trauma stemmed from my parents, my biological dad and my mom, and the unhealed trauma that they were dealing with together.
Yeah.
And it's like one unhealed person with another unhealed person, not knowing that they could be healed. So that was normal, but here comes little squeaky coming in, and so they're going to try to raise this child and not realizing that the environment was very trauma filled. And so at 3 is the memory of my dad was in the military. It was the memory of him struggling over my mother or holding her down because there was domestic abuse, and me taking a box and hitting my father with it to get him off the line.
Oh,
So that's the memory I remember at 3. There are other memories that I do have, but that's why I say it started at 3 for me, because that's when I can clearly remember that day. I remember the color of the carpet, the bedspread, I remember everything so vividly, and so that memory is attached to emotion. And being an emotional intelligence expert, this is where helping people understand where their trauma is coming from and how they remember things so vividly. And so that's my first memory at work.
At what age would you say you started looking at it as something you could do something with? How long did it take before you started the process of creating the antidote?
The first step was when I went to college, and then I had a psychology degree, so I drove into psychology trying to understand my mom's mental health challenges that she was battling through. But then also to fast forward to about the age of 30, when I was a young human resources director, and the VP of Finance triggered me, and a learned response came out because I saw how my mother used to respond to her challenges and use that for communication. And so when I called the vice president of finance and asked in front of many, and stormed out and literally went into my office and cried, and we were crier, but I cried because I had given away my emotional power. So now he can control the narrative. Now he can control me. And so that's when I realized there's got to be something in regards to human behaviorism and how we are triggered from our emotional blueprint, our emotional narrative, our learned responses, and where the trauma was, understanding where the root was, and not just focusing on the symptom or the reaction. The root was coming from.
Makes sense.
It was coming from my mother. He wasn't that. He wasn't that. He deserved it, but however, I could have delivered my message differently for him to truly receive the frustration that was there.
Was there? Okay, great. Dominique, the rotation wheel has landed on you. This is, oh, I'm not picking on anybody. I found the button and it moves the participants around. So this means that you are supposed to connect to what Ms. Nicole just said. So what you said, you said psychological, right?
Yeah, it'll be, money.
No.
So it's a combination of psychological, family, and sexual. So.
Psychological, family, and sexual. Okay, take us there in 2 minutes or less. You're parting the veil. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so at a young age, I didn't always live with both of my parents. And then once my dad, we weren't living with him anymore, basically he was just pretty much out of life. I would see him, but he would not leave me. There was broken promises, and it just felt like I was not needed by him, and I couldn't trust him to consistently be in my life. And so that led me to look for loving places that I should have. And now in college, I got raped, and it was hard for me to talk about it because I didn't know what to know. And one day I had to talk to my mama, and she always was when something's wrong with me. So she kept asking me what was wrong, and I got mad. So I basically just kind of had someone she didn't know what she should have, with them what she should have. And kind of broke, and I lost my voice, I lost who I was, and couldn't figure out just how to cut me forward. But over the last 10 years, I've been therapy. Because of her, she has always pushed me to create space in which I can share my story and also be able to hear others, and that has helped me with
Thank you. Again, vulnerability, you guys, is oftentimes a little harder than it looks. And there are so many of us that make it look easy because we know how to bury things. We know how to not have a poker face, suppress things, take your pick. But in safe spaces, which this is, sacred spaces, which this is, it's very important to take the time and take that opportunity to just let it out. Okay? So thank you for that, Dominique. I know that wasn't easy. Okay, let me spin the wheel and see. It looks, is it really? See, I'm just grabbing dots and dragging them or trying to, here, no, move me out. Oh, if I move me out, it moves someone in. Okay. Sorry for big country. We know that they can't see you because you're sitting down and you are a athlete, which means that, you know, you're forced to wear a goatee. Wait, that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say you're para-athlete. So I know a lot of people would assume you're going to go to the physical accident that took your leg and took a lot of things, but also dropped off a lot of things that you use today. And we're going to get to that side of everyone's story on the second half of today's broadcast, where we address primarily the benefits that have come from these days. So go ahead. What category and what age were you? And
age between 28 and 30. I want to say, because there's a couple of different, you know, specific events. Of course, you know, being deployed, which causes all the PTSD that me and my fellow soldiers went through. And then, of course, the traumatic event of running off 150-foot ravine after hitting black ice, crushing both my legs. You know, we'll dive into, you know, how that affects everyday life, things that we take for granted that we normally don't think about on a daily basis, but then also how to turn those negatives into a positive, or like how I like to say it, turn your disabilities into your superpowers and help you live your best life.
Awesome. Awesome. So what category would you say your particular trauma? So you're saying physical?
It'd be physical and emotional.
And emotional.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Brian. And we'll be back over. We did my, I feel like I'm on rock record. We didn't. What? Oh, that's because, well, she coaches with me, so she knows how to come in strong. It was that intro that I was like, didn't you hear from? Sorry about that. Martha, go ahead. Tell us what category and take your 2 minutes and what age?
So mine starts at birth. I was born and raised in a dangerous religious cult. And within the first 26 years of my life, I experienced, when I said every imaginable, I experienced a lot within the confines of the cult, by the cult leader within the cult, physical, mental, emotional, sexual, spiritual, psychological, all of it. And so I escaped at age 26, and that's when I thought I was free, but that's actually when my story starts. It's because I had to undo everything that I ever thought I knew. I had to disregard everything that I ever thought about myself, and I had to re-identify with the woman that just sits in front of you today. And it's been a very long and arduous road, but I'm really proud of myself, and I'm really proud of the woman that I'm becoming, because it is a process. And I've been diligently healing for the last 14 years, but I'll be healing for the rest of my life because I'm worth it. Yes.
Nice. Very nice. And Martha, real quick, the being brought in, you know, born into a cult. This, I want to say this too. You're going to hear things during this broadcast that you may not even be able to see within the screen of your mind because you have no reference point. For instance, Martha's going to, I'm sure, share about being literally starved for, like, what was it, 5 months? You see what I'm saying? So just expect, and why I point that out is this. A lot of us, I'm just telling you, especially for those of you out there who are trying to find a way to find healing so that you can help others through your trauma, know this. You can do it, but you won't get inside of that sacred space through a poor is me story. There's no shortage of those. However, there is a shortage currently. I refer to it as a universal urgency, almost to the point where it's on the endangered species list. People who are willing to not just bring the off-key version of their life's background music, but to bring the orchestrated background music, which is the antidote. So reach and find your antidote, and it will be standing in front of the door that you walk through to hand that antidote out to everyone in line in the world, because they're coming. You best believe you didn't live anything for nothing. So who will this pick? Oh, nope. We've already heard from them. Brad Vaughn.
What do I win?
Yes. How about we have a special version of one of these, which is a pair up there you can have. It's half rotted. I'm sorry. We have no prizes. Your story is the prize. And I just want to say congratulations before you start on making that big move. Not just yesterday, but the moment that led to yesterday when you mentioned earlier about the trauma therapy. So go ahead.
That's one day at a time. I will say that my trauma was sort of activated. I have to reflect on the full story a little bit, because there was a corporate or a company experience that I had that activated and reminded me of something that I had to work on. And so when I lost my job in corporate America after 16 years, I was so attached to that role and what I was doing, and the passion that I could do, the love, the DEI work. The top of my game, I was like flying with this thing on corporate jet to accept awards that we had rallied the organization around to become a top company for diversity. And years later, I was annexed for that reason, for speaking up for racial equality and LGBT rights. And that devastated me. I was in bed. I could not get out of bed. I could not search for jobs. I couldn't go on LinkedIn. I could not open my resume. I couldn't do anything. I felt like I was so lost. And that experience of losing my job brought me into this depression where I had to dig deep. So why do I feel so thin and so left behind? So fast forward to 6 months later, I'm at a retreat in a jungle on a mat in a tent, and I'm crying for 4 hours. And I lift myself up out of that tearful, like that sobbing. And I was able to meditate a really tent. And I saw myself at 8 years old. I saw an 8-year-old on the wall. And I saw him, he was so mad. He was running away. He was acting up. He was acting out. He was acting out stuff, all this stuff. And I said, why are you so mad? And he looked at me and he said, I don't know why I didn't get a chance to meet my dad before he worked. And I sort of opened up that I was hearing a lot of things that I didn't unpack. And so since that time, I've been unpacking through therapy, psychedelic therapy, EMDR, a lot of things that have been carried for a long time and still unpacking to this day.
Wow. At this point, I feel it's time to really address again the depth of the elephant in the room, which is don't be surprised as we move from story to story. Just expect it. The reason I say that is because we move past people that we claim we know all day, every day. And when they're not showing up as that person we expect, we make a lot of assumptions, which is why I am a firm champion and believer of anything that keeps you from going there. Because how do you know? How do you know? You know, we half of us don't even know the depths of our own stories, let alone someone else's. So keep that in mind. And also remember, none of these stories are above or below, in front or behind anyone else's. They just are, which is why we've chosen today to sit beside each other. Let's see who is chosen that hasn't spoken yet. Let's see. I'm going to try. Wait, I don't want that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to say real quick, because a lot of you already know mine, and is started at birth, or before. I actually say before, and that is the reason that I hang the two pictures I showed some people yesterday of mothers number 1 and 2 out of 23. It used to be 22, but my mother-in-law, who just passed, I now have pushed her into that category. But mothers 1 and 2, I put them in the foyer of our home in Chicago. So when I come and I go, I look at them to be reminded of the conversations they had while I was still in vitro that got me to where I am today. Yesterday was mother number 2's 105th, would have been 105th birthday. And it was the very first time I used her name from the stage ever, because I wanted to protect her history with me. And I didn't want people to villainize her. She didn't create the trauma. She didn't create the drama. She created the pathway that led me directly into my life's work. And so for that, I am eternally grateful. And so I'm kind of easing into, as you see, how you get to the antidote. But anyway, let's keep going and see who is chosen next. Let's see. I am trying to get to. Oh wait. Stephanie.
Yeah.
Time to share.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm going to speak about the trauma of losing my mother. 2 years ago, I lost my mother. She was a strong, vibrant, no nonsense, loving woman. I didn't realize how much she meant to me until that day came. Even when she was sick, she had dementia. At the end, she still knew every day I was like, who am I? She was like, girl, I know. I said, wait, Stephanie, that's my girl. I know who you are. But like I said, I didn't realize the impact that she had on my life is what she did. And once she did, I felt lost. And I took like 2 months off of work. I just laid on it. I just felt like, okay, what am I going to do? But I knew I had to go on because I had 14 years old and I had my Dominique, because even though she's old now, she still needs it. And I always feel like everybody needs it. And like now I'm at a point where I don't know myself because I feel everything is everybody else. And it's just like a hard moment for me right now. Because it's like I look in the mirror and I'm like, who am I? It's a hard thing.
Yes.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially for me, because I was so, by her. And I was just in her. And I'm like, I feel a little, I never talked to her. Tracy are like sister to me. I stayed with her. She and Tracy because I didn't want to miss who I was. It's just that's where I'm at. And I know I thank Dr. Lloyd why because it brought me out. I've been going for so long. My mom been going for 2 years now. And I feel like, I can't even look at her sometimes. I just put my makeup on and, I'm really going to focus on myself anymore. So I'm taking the time to get back.
There you go. There you go. So we have someone here, Stephanie, self-admittedly, who is at this table today under the assumption that she's not bringing any antidote. You're all going to see how that turns out. There already is antidote. Because if nothing else, I can speak to this myself, and Shima, you're next. The remembrance piece. See, that's another thing that we share our traumas. It's not just triggering in negative. It can trigger things you need to be reminded of, so that you can use the gratitude piece to get to the next piece. So, Stephanie, you're already pouring antidote because you're making me remember. I remember when that was me trying to find my way back to me. And so many are. It does not start until you can speak it into existence. When you say it, you are beckoning it. Okay, so keep that in mind, you guys. Again, every place you find yourself is exactly where you were meant to be. There are no mistakes. That is just what is greater than us. Keeping this shit interesting. And if you want the world to be interested, then you need to be in the process of something interesting. That's that ing, which is why we are human beings and not human duns. Okay? So, Shima, how's it going? Tell us where you're at. What are you
Let's
thinking?
see. I know we talked about bullying as a kid. I was a little kid. I was super duper friendly. I had all the friends. I thought I was a good friend and I loved everybody. I'm not even gonna say I thought I was a good friend and I loved everybody. So I didn't understand when it wasn't reciprocated. I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit and to say that I'm still that way. And I didn't even realize, and I hope this speaks to someone out there who's trying to understand trauma. I didn't even realize it was traumatic until I was an adult and until I went through other personal traumas that this particular thing was the start. Had friends, I thought my friends would say certain things that I didn't, that was hurtful, talk about my skin, my hair, whatever. Just pick on it, literally say anything. And then certain people were physical. I wasn't a fighter. I didn't come from a fighting family or anything like that. But I felt like, that's, the great part about it, I'm going to always say the great part about it is I didn't think that it was anything that I did to warrant it. So I didn't get so angry to respond in anger. However, what it taught me to stand up for myself took a while, but I had to learn that was bullying. I had to be able to put a name on it. I did not put a name on it until my bestie, who I have been friends with my entire life, explained to me why these people were not nice and just nasty. And it was nothing that I did. Like I said, her exact words, because you're smart. You knew a lot. You had a lot of intelligence and they didn't like it. And you said it. So there was confidence there. There was ability there. And those who, and I'm going to say this, those who were feeling some kind of way within themselves didn't like it in me. So it reflected in that behavior. The part that I want everybody to remember, just from my standpoint, is I didn't even realize it was trauma. Even to the other day when we started talking about this broadcast, I almost said, I don't think I've had any trauma. Because you do a good job of coming out of it. And that's the anecdote part of it.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. We have Tracy. Thank you, Shima. I want to, man, I'll wait. Let me get Tracy in real quick. Tracy Randolph, reset coach. I'll say this. Everything I thought each person, because I thought I knew them so well, would choose is not what they have chosen. And so again, more antidote on the table. I'm trying to get Tracy in. I don't want me there. And so, man, I'm learning so much, and we hope you all are too. 800, you guys you're standing, and I'm very grateful. Tracy, I'm trying to drag you in. It was easy when I didn't have to pick. Thank you. All you, Tracy.
Thanks. So I know Dr. Lauren wasn't expecting me to talk about what I'm going to talk about today, but my subject is domestic violence. Very much like Nicole, you heard her earlier in the show. I experienced watching my father kick my mother, beat my mother. And I couldn't understand the man that showed me so much love because he never took it on me. He loved me. And the man that showed me so much love, how he could treat and disrespect my mother the way that he did, and how he harbored so much anger for her. So I related to, and I vividly see this all the time, especially when I talk about this. I had a room, and my room was light blue. My room was light blue, and there was so much light. I had one window in that room, and there was so much light that came through that room. But everything that I saw outside of the door of my room was darkness.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a hurricane outside of that room, and it was always gray. And I say this to say that I know that the angels were always watching over me in that little room, in that little light room where the light was shining. And Dr. Moore mentioned something. He said that he wasn't expecting me to talk about this because I'm a breast cancer survivor. But the breast cancer was a blessing. And I didn't start telling this story until I was able to talk about having breast cancer. Because there was an unspoken rule in my family that we just did not talk about the domestic violence that was happening in my household. And at 12 years old, just like Nicole, I took action at 12 years old. I decided to call the cops on my father. And I harbored a lot of anger towards my mother, even though I loved her so much, but I couldn't understand why she wouldn't release my father. So I felt like I had to. And at that point, I took on a lot of responsibility for the family because I was considered at that point, at 12, the strong one. So it took me a long time to get to a point where I could release this story, to talk about it, and to release it. And then my father died when I was in college, and we didn't have a relationship at that point. And I was in my 20s, and I had to forgive him after that. And I walked my way through that, through the divine, because I'm God's child. I walked my way through that, and realized I loved him. I loved him a lot. And it was okay. And that I was strong because of what happened. And I'm resilient because of what happened. And I can move on and know that this is just a part of my story.
That's amazing.
It's powerful.
It's very powerful. Thank you for that, Tracy. I'm going to bring everybody back to the stage as a collective now. And you guys do have the one overview. This was really fun putting it together, even though, you know, we hear a little echo. I hear it's okay there. And I just want to say, I'm amazed. You guys know I do this 5 days a week, 50 straight weeks a year. And I cannot remember ever. And shout out to MD, my guy, who is taking care of all of this, making sure that it gets to you all over the world. The 851 of you that have sat there frozen, literally frozen. I know, because when people are into something, it is because they are in the midst of receiving something.
Yes.
And that's what's happening here. So I'm just so grateful for all of you. Phone a friend, send out a raven, do a rain dance or whatever you need to do. And let's try our best to hit 1,000 before we leave here. Yes. Because I just feel like we can. Okay. So now we're going to move into the next part. I do want to say this, out of these stories that we've heard just briefly so far, 7 out of 10, and these are real numbers, which should give us a clearer perspective to understand what we're dealing with throughout our day, especially in your sacred circle. Think of the closer 9 people in your circle that you make 10 with. That's what we have here at this table today. And 7 out of the 10 so far today can track their entry point of trauma to the beginning. 7 out of 10 have said it began with a family member, mother, father, somewhere in there. And that is also what leads to what we're going to talk about next. What category I want the panelists? I'm gonna ask you to raise your hands. The viewers can see you all, and tell me on a scale of 1 to 5. So you only need one hand. I'm gonna say some words, and if you think 5 being the strongest, 1 being the weakest, where you think the particular word lives inside of your trauma experience that you're addressing today. Shame. 1 to 5, 5 being the strongest. If you ever felt shame. So I see a 3, I see a 4, I see a 3, I see a 5, I see a 5. No shame for Nicole, no shame for Tracy. Ever? No shame ever. You didn't have shame, Tracy, about what was going on in the other room? Like if you went to another friend's house and it was like, you know, oh, the Huxtables.
I don't think I felt shame. It's just we just didn't talk about it.
We didn't talk about it.
I didn't feel shame, of maybe envy of some other family.
Okay, that's good to know. A lot of people think that trauma, because of the word stigma that we hear associated with it so much, that the two are synonymous. Clearly, they are not. Shima, you said no shame either.
No shame.
So do you guys, Brad? You said 3.
Yeah.
What about the I just want to point to it because a lot of people, Chris Shivers, when you watch this, if you're not watching right now, I want this for you because Chris Shivers is a client. He's also a fellow rock star. He just lost his father to suicide, which is the second or third person in his immediate family that has done. All the men in his family have taken their own lives. Let's put it that way. He's the last standing. So, and he's been posting a lot about the shame that he couldn't speak on camera until he started working on that. So, can you just a little bit about that?
Yeah, the only shame I felt was not speaking up and talking about it, I suppose. So that's why I said 3. It was sort of this unwritten rule that we didn't talk about his, you know, my dad was a helicopter in the sky because he was a helicopter pilot and was a war hero. But we didn't talk about the sadness from it. We never, I visited his tombstone and stood there feeling nothing. So it wasn't so much shame, it was more like trapped trauma. And then I think just the comparison of comparing myself to other people who had a functional family.
Okay. I just want to ask you, we're going to go over because I love the connection and you're sitting right next to him. You said war hero and no PTSD. And I'm wondering, did your family feel post PTSD? Did you? So yes, you believe that had a lot to do with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was 1982. There wasn't a lot of resources for him available, and so much coursework on. He really was a hero. So I go between this hero and villain, where he suffered with alcoholism and took his own life, and I didn't get a chance to meet him. This hero became him as well. So I've been unpacking all of that through therapy, psychedelics, and EMDR to understand. And that's why, you know, people that do the military healing are so inspiring to me because I see that and sorry, I'm gonna get choked up again. But I see these guys talk about wanting to be there for the kids, and I just wish my dad had something like that. But anyway, I'm grateful for people, especially men that are military veterans that speak up about mental health. Because I'm like, you know, selfishly, I wish I had that for me and for my dad. But then I know that there's kids at home with parents that have military trauma, so it's very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to toss it over Big Country. And, you know, you and I, anybody else besides the two of us that are veterans by chance?
Military
brat, but not an active duty, prior active duty. Okay. So the two of us, you'll go and then I'll speak a little bit about the PTSD part. Because a lot of people think 222 is just an angel number. But in the military or the ex-military world, we use that number. And you can speak to that because so many of our brothers and sisters end up taking or have taken their own lives because of PTSD and other things. But Big Country?
Yeah, the suicide rates, I guess I should say the help that's on the outside is not very young. They tend to rush people out of the military at such a fast pace. They give you 2 weeks to get acclimated back to civilian life. Let's go over resume, let's go over some benefits that you may need. But they won't stop to think that it took you months to reprogram your mind back into the military world on how to march, when you get up, when you eat, when you fight.
Right.
They haven't stopped to realize, hey, maybe we should do this on the way out. We need to sit them down longer than 2 weeks and say, here's this, report. I mean, my first time I got home, I completely lost my shit on the drive-thru. Was it her fault? No, not necessarily. It wasn't her fault. But it was me used to seeing things go with a purpose and things done right then and there. People getting, not slacking off and stuff like we see out here in these right. But, I mean, there's not enough concentration, there's not enough training for military people that should be on the way out. So that way they know more about programs. The VA does great stuff. But there are so many other organizations and nonprofits and stuff out there that are actually doing something to help our fellow brothers and sisters out there, whether it be mental health, or it be like DBT, where we help with adaptive sports and fitness, or the Force Initiative out in Texas that helps, vets with housing temporarily while they can work and save up some money. You got Battle Buddy app. If you're in a mental health crisis, you can hit on this app. If you're in crisis, you get someone on the phone within 2 minutes. Not in crisis, it's there within 30 minutes. It's these type of resources that need to be explained out here, because the PTSD, a lot of people have it. Military side is a little bit different in some aspects. For me, it's a man hitting a woman. I can't stand that. It burns me alive. It's thrown me in flashbacks. It's thrown me into other stuff. My grandfather taught me, you cherish your woman. And seeing some things happen during the military career was just astronomical. It just made me sick.
Yeah.
But there's help out there. There's people to talk to. There's organizations to reach out to. This helps. But that's where I kind of felt ashamed in myself, is because I feel like I'm the one that let myself get to that point. Yeah. I was sitting there. I wasn't trying to reach out for help. I wasn't trying to look at resources. I wasn't trying to get my butt out of the house. I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself. I lost my leg. I lost my dream job. I lost everything that I was good at. Now I can't do so with my kids. So what's the point? At one point in time, I was thinking I'm out to pull the trigger, but nothing happened. That's something saying, hey, there's something else that you're here for. It's I blamed it on myself. I was looking at my shadow box and was like, here's this guy that's run through being down range in the countries and done so much on the side. How did I get to this type of road? But it was that self-recognition that started bringing this out.
Thank you for that. I want to ask you real quick, because you really are a true example of a hero. And the veteran community, I know it, everyone that's a member knows it, that a lot of people listen to what you say. So I want you to just briefly, because a lot of people thought, I'm sure, that when you talked about the shame thing, I wanted to, because you and I have talked about this on the show before, when people automatically, they see all of the regalia that definitely you wear it on you, you wear it proud about paramilitary, and then they automatically assume that you lost your leg in battle. And then you have to say, no, it was actually, and you have a really unique way of bringing that in, I find, in order to keep you safe, not feel like, damn, I didn't even lose my leg right. You know what I'm saying? Seriously. So, right, I can't do that. Right. Well, believe it or not, I have interviewed a lot of people over the years who have prior suicide attempts. They were unsuccessful, thank God, but they laugh through it because they go, I couldn't even do that right. Kind of thing. So, just quickly, was it difficult for you to find a way to live with the fact that people are going to always assume that, oh, you're a hero who loves it. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Because they always say thank you for your service. But people don't understand about saying thank you for your sacrifice. So talk about that real quick and then we'll move on.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, when you see a veteran with injuries, it's just the way the stigmatism is nowadays with these followers. How long we've been in wars over the last few years. That's the automatic response. Oh, you must have got hurt down there. Oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. Thank you for being sorry.
Yes.
It's, being a veteran, yourself, you have to correct that.
Yes.
Because it didn't happen. And there's so many ways of finding that out. And there's a lot of stolen valor out there. And that will produce a veteran in a heartbeat if you come off as something that you're not. But it's just real simple. It's real easy. But I wasn't hurt down there physically. I got some mental stuff from down there. But I was, it's easy to explain to say, hey, I was hurt on base. I want to get my guys some months. I hit black ice, ran off a 150-foot ravine, crushed both my legs. That is my purpose right now. So it's pretty easy to put them in the right place, but they don't look anything by it because, like I said, the stigmatism over that. 20-some years of us being in war. That's just where they're.
That's where the war is. Okay. Well, it's nice. I think I don't know about you guys, but it's nice that we're finding things that we assumed would have been a go-to for a lot of people that just aren't true. So there is hope. There is hope. What about blame? Did anybody here blame themselves at any point? Even though it was traced back to an origin of someone or something other than yourself. Hands, show of hands. Did you ever blame yourself that something was wrong with me? Everybody but one. Okay, so, I know what someone out there is saying right now. That Nicole, she ain't ready to heal. She is clearly in denial. There's one of them at that table that needs a therapist. That's a real thing. Touch on that, Nicole, because everything's pointing to you.
I didn't blame myself. I think I clearly knew who was at that time who I thought was at fault. Meaning, my dad can't control his anger. My mom is not leaving. Now, my mom stayed until I was about 4, so it's not like she stayed, the whole time. But even in marrying my stepfather, she just dragged her home with her. So, but I never blamed them myself. There were other people that I thought could have stepped up a little bit more in regards to helping, because we were Air Force, we traveled around. So then it was further to get to, I couldn't run next door to my grandmother's house. I do feel there are family members that could have stepped up a little bit more, but at that time, mental health was not a thing. It was all over the place. My mother was diagnosed with 2 mental health illnesses, but still, even there, we went back and forth. And that's what she was diagnosed with. So I don't blame myself. I've never blamed myself. And I think that just comes in regards to Nicole, my performance style, my behavior style. I never blamed myself, but there were others that I did hold accountable or responsibility for that never to this day has even stepped up to say their part in what took place. Because my mother's trauma story when she was younger, and you gotta understand, and we're out on terms with, with what was going on in her family. And it's women at that time just didn't get up and leave. We didn't get a break call or anything along those lines. So let's be real about my grandmother, whoever was involved. Where was she going to go? What was she going to do? So that blame, I think, came more from my mother and father's side than from me. But I can determine that it wasn't. I never thought it was my fault. I never thought it was my fault.
Okay. Well, that is definitely a single lane out there for that person who was feeling like the odd man or woman out. We want to address those things that are glaring, trying to get our attention at this table today, just so that you don't consider yourself non-relatable. It doesn't apply to me. All of us have some element of someone else's experience within our own. Know this. That is why we create a chain, if you will, when we link our experiences and our truths to each other and not point the fingers at each other. Okay? So, Jason Cisneros, you've heard me mention that name before. And ordinarily, it is from a place of respect, love, and some type of cherishment. Not today, not so much. Not so much because, you know, I'm another Charles Maddox traumatic person who just constantly drags me into, oh, never mind, he's here. I'll tell you all the rest. I'll tell you all the rest later. Hi, Jason. He had a show and he just wrapped it up and he's here. The only person coming in from outside of this room. How you doing, Jason?
Excellent. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I'm great. Oh, I can turn him up. See. Talk, and I'm gonna have to lower myself because you know we got everybody around the table. You might not. Okay, that's what I'll do. So, Jason, say hello. And 7 out of 10 people, now 8 out of 11 will have traced the trauma back to parents.
Let me see if I can mute while you're talking. Hang
Oh,
on
yeah,
one
you
second.
should.
Let me see if that helps.
Hello?
We can still hear you if you lower his volume. We can hear him. We can hear him. Yeah, if you lower it back. Where it was.
Down here?
When you first initially asked how he was.
Yeah.
You could hear him.
Okay, Jason. Okay, hold on.
He's muted right now.
Oh, he's muted right now.
Oh, he's muted. Okay, I'll take this now. Wait, I don't want to mute that completely. So, Jason, tell the story about the broken noses.
Well, we're just going to jump in like that, huh? Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you. Hey, Trace. How you doing? What's up, Martha? Good to see you, everybody. Big Country. Whoa, that's a great one. Love your haircut. That's amazing. It's good.
If all people do it best, man.
There you go.
Grass don't grow on a busy street, baby. We don't waste our hormones growing hair. So we'll go from there. So great to meet everybody. I know the subject matter. I love it. I'm honored to be here, to be asked to be involved in what y'all are doing. And when Lauren reached out to me for to join, he asked me if I knew anything about trauma, and I said not from a professional perspective, but I do I sure as hell do from a life lived experience. And my story, as it pertains to what we're doing, I was adopted really young by a guy who was not a good guy. He ran with a gang and a motorcycle side of things. Started, hitting my mom almost from what I can remember, about 9 years old, somewhere between 7 and 9, blurry as you can imagine. I started stepping in front of her to take the beatings, and that made me kind of the target of a lot of different things. Broke my nose. I've had it since fixed, but I broke my nose. If you see me growing up, my nose is on this side, it's on this side, it's smashed in, it's like all these different things. But he broke my nose at least a dozen times that I know of, and eventually went to prison for attempted murder of me and my mom when I was 17 years old. So that was a lot of years. I mean, it's a short time, as everybody knows that goes shit. You summarize it into, to a sentence or two so that everybody can kind of understand, but it doesn't do anything to justify the years and years and years, like Lauren's story and Martha's story, and everybody that's gone through any kind of trauma. We all have our cross to bear, but that was my story, and I'm super grateful for it. I don't know if we're gonna, how you want to move this along, but I'm super grateful for everything that I went through. I'm glad that he was my adopted father. I know that that's exactly what I need in my life to be able to turn me into the person that I am today. So I don't know where you want to go with that.
Thank you, Jason. We're gonna go into, I want to talk about this topic, and we're going to do the show of hands. False emotional strengths. A lot of trauma hides behind false emotional strengths. African American community, what goes on in this house stays in this house, and a lot of ethnic communities. I shouldn't say African American. Also in the military, what goes on in this base, I got, that happened to me a lot. I was a musician in the Air Force, and when I would leave, I would be given a separate set of TDY instructions about what, and this had nothing to do. I was in front of the public on my off time, but still, you're representing us, that sort of thing. And so I had to hide certain things. I had to bury certain things. And when you bury something that is your truth, and I'm going to paraphrase from one of my favorite books, which is now if I can just think of the name of it, the one where The Alchemist. A blessing that is ignored will become your curse. And that's important, because that's why I say trauma was the moment I was touched and marked for greatness. And that's what I tell children, so that it does not have a chance to grow into a curse. And so I would like to hear, I'm going to go around, I'm just going to point to people, and just, if you had a false emotional strength or still do, what would its name be? Because that's important too. When we name things, they begin to work for us. Because everybody that has had a boss knows that boss's name. You don't say him down there. That was Bernie Mac's line. You say that asshole up there, or whatever, but you have a name for them. So when we want things to serve us, we must have a name for them, not just those people, that thing. Okay, so Shima, false emotional strength. Did you have any? Do you have any? Is there a name? I can. Anybody want to start? I would say mine was. Well, I'm gonna just say, it wasn't none. That's kind of, and I go very country on y'all. In other words, it's almost like, see, what happened was, for me, it was, well, and whenever people would say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't want that. Oh, no, it wasn't that bad. I know it sounds like it, but it really wasn't. And what that did was things that started, you hear this in my sister reel, that started like Velcro on my spirit. I believed myself into believing eventually that every one of them was an indelible tattoo, that it could not go anywhere, no matter how much I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, which was a curse of my own making. So that, I hope, isn't it?
Well, that helped.
Now all the hands are gone up. Who knows? Okay, so we're going to go back to the original. We'll start with Sheena and just work our way around.
I think for me, it's okay. It's okay. That's it. And
so how is it? Wait a minute.
Is that your response?
Yeah. What was your false emotional strength? Like I had this. That's why it's not doing what you think. I'm this.
I'm okay.
Oh, you thought you were saying you were okay.
Yeah.
But you weren't. Oh, and that's common. Oh no, I'm okay.
It was I'm okay and I don't care.
Oh, I don't care. Okay.
I don't care.
A lot of people, when you ask people, now keep this in mind, when you know people, you know them. You walk into the workplace and you're walking, let's say, the cubicle area or the office. You walk past someone's car and you say, Gina, are you okay? Oh, I'm fine. You sure? And you don't seem yourself. I'm like, okay, bye, girl. Right. You're on your way.
Right.
And I remember many times like that. I'm okay, and I was really hoping they'd ask me 10 more times, and I'll tell you.
Right.
Right? Husbands, partners, wives, you remember asking your spouse, you're sitting up against other over and over and over, something that they finally tell you. Sometimes we have to be a little bit tenacious. We got to let people know I'm not quitting. I'm not going anywhere. That's what it means. You're not really, being an asshat, but you're saying, listen, you're going to tell me or I'm not leaving until you do. So thank you for that. That's a huge one. Tracy, we're just going to go around in order. Tracy, next.
For me, it was I have to take care of everyone. You heard my story at 12 years old. I called the police on my father, and I felt like it was my responsibility to take care of everyone, and I have to be strong.
So to piggyback on that, would you say that led you into maybe becoming or risking turning into one of those people that is perpetually always trying to rescue the kitten from the tree? Okay, a people pleaser. What can confuse your natural ability as an empath? Because we can only hold so much space. So there we go. Okay, great. Nicole.
Yeah, it just ding, Tracy, when you said that. I think it was for me a false sense of being the peacemaker, of bringing harmony, and that is one of my values, but it's different now being older. But bringing harmony because making sure everything's okay, making sure mom's okay, making sure dad's okay, making sure during the holidays, what's up, but also too, my mother tried to commit suicide twice. It was down to me. My stepdad, there was murder, suicide, and that side of things. And I'm bringing a piece of okay. Now I'm the oldest child, the oldest cousin, the oldest. I'm literally 5 years below my mom's brother, and so I had to grow up real fast. Caretaker. So I think it was a false sense of the peacemaker. My dad told me, my stepdad worked on my dad years ago. You do not have to bring peace for everyone, just for yourself. Okay, good enough. Years ago, and I was like, really noted. All y'all on know. So I think.
Okay, being that person who is the voice of reason for everybody, the go-to. A lot of you out there fall into that category. People make jokes and say you'd be a great bartender. Sounds familiar. You could have been a therapist, right? Because you're a great listener. Again, remember, you can do that, but understand where your strengths and weaknesses fall and know the level of whatever you are pouring into your tank to make sure you are not running on fumes and that it's not pouring out of where you put the gas or the fuel in. You understand? So, okay. Stephanie.
Mine was, I would say, I'm good. I don't need anybody. I can take care of
so like she.
I can take care of everything on my own. And at the whole time you break it down, but you still put up this side. I'm good. I kept a smile on my face.
Okay.
That is it. It was, that is.
So that really sounds like Shima and Stephanie qualify as a lone wolf.
You feel like it.
Is that what?
You get that feeling. Yeah. I'm good. I didn't even tell my parents. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my sister, my big sister. I didn't tell her.
Okay.
Because I felt like I could
turn that down. Okay. All right. So let's break in real quick before we go to Martha. Jason, just put a guy in the mix. Oh, I got to turn him on.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I love this question, and the answers that y'all are giving is so powerful. A long time ago now, I learned of a concept that we're all talking about here, which is our primary question. And can you hear me? Okay. Okay. And our primary question in psychology, as I was taught, was something that happens to us in emotional trauma space when between the ages of 0 and 18. and it sticks. It's not like we choose it. It's our response to it to protect ourselves. And mine, when I figured this out, I went back in time through this process. It was an amazing process for me. And it took me back to a moment where my adopted father, we had moved into this town. We moved around a lot because, he was a criminal. He was paid to hurt people, and we would go from a big city. He would hurt somebody. We would go to a small town and hide out for a period of time. So we were always moving. And I remember moving to this little town called Rocky Ford, Colorado. It was primarily Hispanic. And we moved into that town. And I didn't know that I actually am Spanish. My adopted last name was not the one that I have now. My last name now is the name of my real father. And so back then, though, I just was light skinned. And so I moved into this school, 4th grade, went out to lunch first day, got jumped by Antonio and Chico, and got beat up pretty much every day. So I went to my adopted father and I said, hey, can you come pick me up after school? Because I'm tired of getting beat up. And he showed up. Never forget it. It was a brown International pickup truck, but bench front seat, Indian rug on it. And I saw him pull up as I was getting out of school. And I said, oh, finally, I don't have to fight today because my dad's here. At that point in time, I didn't know he was my adopted father. So we get there. And he picks me and we get there, and here comes Antonio, and I'm like, hey, my dad's here. He's going to protect me, blah, blah, blah. I got the crap beat out of me for you guys okay?
Oh, yeah, we're talking about it. 1,143 people are watching.
That's awesome numbers. So anyway, long story short, he didn't get out of the truck. I got the crap beat out of me, probably harder that day than I ever had. And we were driving home. I finally got in the truck. I was bleeding. I was crying. Got in the truck on our way home. We got to this stop sign that I'll never forget. It was a T in the road, and on the other side was an abandoned house. And we got to that stop sign, and I looked over at him, and I said, why didn't you help me? And as soon as the words fell off of my lips, his fist came across the truck, hit me in the head. My head blew out the window. And it was in that moment where my primary question became, how do I protect myself? And that colored my entire, I couldn't trust anybody. I didn't trust anybody with personal relationships. It was always, how do I protect myself? Because my father, my dad, who was supposed to, didn't do it. And so that primary question, I shifted it from how do I protect myself to how can I be a powerful world changer that enjoys every breath? It was a conscious decision that I repeated over and over and over to myself over a long time. And now, here we are years later, having reestablished what that primary question was, has completely transformed my life. I've done stand-up comedy. I rescue kids in the, from underground sex trade. Those are the things that have happened because of a shift in that question that you just asked, Lauren. It's so important what we're doing right now.
It is. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate that. I know that story and what it does when you repeat it. So thank you for that. I want to go to Martha, and we have 29 minutes left. So I think we have 2 more questions after this one. So, Martha, any false emotional strengths?
I have a whole list of them.
Just keep it to 1 or 2.
So, because growing up in the cult, my whole life was a lie. I outside of the cult, nobody really knew what we were, what we were going through. Nobody, when people ask questions, our first instinct was to lie. So I was very familiar with putting on a facade. And so when I escaped from the cult, now I have to form this cartoon that is not me, but it's the only way to survive because it's the only way I know. And because my whole life has been a lie. And now I have all this pain, this shame, this guilt, this fear, all this stuff, and I don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to class them the fake smile and that fake positivity and let's go life, I got this. And so I became an overachiever. I became, I worked my ass off, rose up through the corporate links, just because I was an overachiever. Let's go. Nobody's going to see my pain. Nobody's going to see my fear. Nobody's going to see my shame. I got this. And so that became what I became known for. But I think my facade helped me survive those first few years until I could start going inward and start looking at who I really was and what I really needed to address. And so my husband got the worst of me because I put on this facade all day long in front of all of my employees and all of my clients and all of my patients. And then I go home and I completely unravel. And so that's the short version. But I was the overcompensator. I was the overachiever. And
Something more that stood out was that fake positivity, and through my work and research and so forth, this is where we have to be careful with that positive psychology. Yeah. Because I studied positive psychology. It's wonderful. The thing is, it's wanting your fakeness and not get to the truth of now how to deal with triggers, emotions, and so forth. So this is where I tell the audience, be careful with that positive psychology because it skips 2 steps. It puts you in a point M and you have started at A and B. So if you're walking around and you have to be positive because it's positive psychology that society has told us to be, this is where you're not healing. You're walking around and being fake. And you're not really dealing with the root of what's causing this trigger.
it's an avoidance.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, so
That's the bandit. No, that's true.
Like that positivity is like, gotta be careful because that's where some of society creates these programs for us.
It's like just do an affirmation.
And it's like, no, there's a little more work to it than just absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Nicole and Martha. And it is true, you guys. So the next time you hear someone refer to pulling off the Band-Aid, that is what they're referring to. There is no such thing as faking it until you make it. You cannot fake your truth. The truth is the only thing in this universe that cannot be faked. It cannot be changed. And thank your lucky stars that is the case. So moving on to Ms. Dominique. Any false emotional strengths? And now you were young. You're the one you're speaking of. The trauma you're speaking to today started. You were a little child, right? No. You were college. You were college. So did you hide behind it? Was there any facade or fake or falseness?
So I've always been a helpful person, but I became extremely helpful. Like if you really, I was a girl, basically. I think it was like a mechanism to make sure that people really liked and appreciated me. I was lost that I could do for them, so they wouldn't see anything else beyond.
When people want something or can get something from you, that's usually, so you sure you're okay? You're okay, thanks. I'll bring you back when I'm done. Right, while you bleed out on the floor.
Right.
Don't worry about me. I'll be okay. I'll just pinch this aorta shut until you get back. Right.
Just pouring out everything that I had and not doing so for myself. And so I'm still helpful, but I'm very cautious on who I help because I know people can take advantage of it.
People will take advantage of it.
It's really easy to hide what you got going on with yourself when you're trying to help out. That's your quick fix therapy. I'm going to help you because it makes me feel good to see you smile, but I'm not going to help myself because I'm not ready to get
Right. All right. Thank you. That was quick and to the point. Very powerful. Brad, false emotional strength.
My false coping strategy, I think, was attachment. It was attachment to job, to identity, to if I have the perfect title and the perfect salary and perfect role at an even bigger company, F the last one, and I'm wearing the nice suit and I'm taking the perfect selfie for LinkedIn or for Instagram, I'm fine. As long as I can afford that. And it goes, ding! That's a thing. It comes with so much funny story. It's going to sound stupid and braggadocious, but like I was so emotionally bankrupted. I was like, I'm worthless. I was like, I'm gonna have to go to Harvard to prove to these people that I know what I'm doing. I want to go to Harvard.
I remember that.
I got a certificate at PLC, and it was great. I read for it. It was just online, you know. But I did Harvard, and I got the certificate, and it was proved that I was like worth something. It was like out of spite. I was like, F you, corporate America. Right? But now it's just like I'm letting go of that attachment and just being and just existing. And I always think, I come back to this Robin Roberts quote, where she said, turn your mess into your message. And I'm just in the early stage of that, because I'm so used to this attachment and peeling back the layers and peeling back the facade to just learn how to be. And being around people like y'all is helping me learn how to be me.
Perfect. And big thank you, Brad. Thank you. Big country.
Mine was blaming everybody else for my issues. Why is my kids not coming up? Why is my parents not here? Why are my friends not showing up at the doorstep whenever they're supposed to be boys? I was blaming everybody else for my lack of progress in fixing myself.
Blame game. Hiding behind, pointing the finger, and avoiding the three that are pointing at ourselves. Okay, Jason, what about you? Oh, you already went? Oh, sorry. You see, see how good it is when I blank someone out. So just for future reference.
My biggest
Mine?
fear was people
They
not
said
paying
you
attention.
answered already.
My biggest fear was people not paying attention to me when I speak. Oh, you just insured it. You just
not paying attention when he speaks. He said it's his biggest thing.
That's a trigger.
You know, to be honest, because I'm looking at it, false emotional strengths. I think mine had to have been the sexual trauma part, not letting on to it, because it usually happened for some odd reason in a home where everything else was perfect. I loved the school. The house looked perfect. It was what I wanted friends to see when they dropped me off. But when you went inside of the environment, inside of what it looked like on the outside, it was like a hell no one could ever anticipate. And so I learned how to do the same thing. This was the outside, right. And I will say this, if you want a clear and concise, beautiful way to what most of us are saying here as far as hiding, I really recommend you Google the Maya Angelou piece. Behind we all wear the masks. There it is an incredibly powerful piece. It will change your everything. Maya Angelou, we wear the masks. Okay. So now let's go to, we're going to be timely here. I do want to say something else here real quick. There are two roads that we see riding parallel after listening to everything we've heard so far. And it is this: we are either attempting at the beginning of the healing to live up to some generational expectation, some familial expectation, some outside expectation or influence, or we're trying to outlive or live beyond someone else's pre-existing legacy. Whether you believe it or not, Chris Shivers just got to the point, and he gave me permission to speak to his story today, of it took him weeks. He has not come back to coaching in the 2 months since his father took his life, because he didn't want to be triggered by the work we do into perhaps taking his own. And so that's important too, to know where you're at on the VU meter of emotions. If you're pegging in the red, breathe and wait until you are not, okay? Because you don't want to add insult to injury, okay? So last things we're going to wrap up with. I'd like to get one truth about trauma that we each wish everyone knew. Keep it to a phrase. One truth And just to show you the plate that it comes out on from your kitchen, here we go. One truth is for me, and I'm sticking to it. A lot of what we end up with is how we choose to keep it. I put everything that I want to keep into a spiritual Tupperware. And I know where they are. I know what sizes they are. I know what cupboard I keep them in. And I know there's certain, I don't put veggies in where I put meat. I say, so what I'm getting at is sometimes it's a wonderful thing to know how to compartmentalize, because some things I don't want to forget. I don't want them to fall between the cracks of my life. I don't want them to be in the proverbial junk drawer of my life because it is useful. It just is, I don't want enough of it to need its own drawer or cabinet. So I put it in a little container that fits the situation. Okay. So that is for me, and what I would say to you, hold on to everything, because again, none of it is working against you. It is all designed to work for you. And God does not make mistakes. He just knows how to keep your shit interesting. So there it is from me. And now we're going to go in reverse. Let's start with the guys. Let's get them all out of the way. Jason, what's one truth about trauma that you wish everyone knew?
That we control meaning. Never. I mean, we control meaning. Meaning. M-E-A-N.
Definition. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Ding, ding.
There's a great book that I read about a survivor of the Holocaust, and then actually seeing and being in Kiev and being in a museum of the Holocaust. And there was a picture that struck me to my core at the time when I walked in, and this room opens up into this giant warehouse of a room, and the entire wall is nothing but a picture for as far as the eye can see of children in a field behind barbed wire fence, and seeing the resilience, the meaning that they came out of that with to be able to survive their situation or give up. Many in the same role. All of us, and I've traveled the world, and I've been with you in so many situations, Lauren, that the choice is ours. What happens to us? There's a saying, and I'll wrap up with this, that pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice. And so how we look at things, it's our choice of how we do, and we can turn it into our greatest strength, or we can turn it into our excuse to quit.
Perfect. That's why I love you so, even though you get on my last nerve most of the time. See?
Yeah. That's all right. And I'm going to continue to. It's my favorite thing to do, by the way.
Oh, you made me snort. I hate you. I'm kidding. Man, you always got to get the last snort. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you, Big Country, and then Brad, and then we'll just continue around through the ladies.
Your disabilities don't have to be a hindrance, but yet your superpower to live your best life.
Ding. Dropping it like it's hot, y'all. Brad.
Mine would be that the cracks are where the light comes in.
So don't you just love it? You can tell when they're on the front end, right? And I'm bringing that in because, see, this is the thing. When you can start quoting things that are providing the grout to the tiles you have lived so that they can stay in place until you are purposeful, you kick them all over your world thinking, who left that random tile there? No, you are creating the literal mosaic, which will serve as the literal floor for those people that are coming from the future to this place known now. They're headed here. Make sure you grout down everything that you've lived and felt, so that when they come here and it's time for them to leave, they will have something to reference as far as, ooh, I love the way this makes me feel. Okay? When babies cry in their cribs, they're not crying because they don't like the way the crib touches when they touch it. They are crying about something that they are feeling inside their spirit. And you come a running as a parent because you can hear your baby through all the chaos. Treat your purpose like a baby. The people can care for it, they can play with it, they can dress it, they can feed it, but nobody has the right to cut baby's hair but you. So let's go to Miss Dominique. What is it you would want? What's your one truth you want the world to know about trauma?
So trauma is stored in the body, and movement can release it in can't.
Ooh, from the mouth of babies. Okay. Truth is, say it again.
When trauma is stored in the body, movement can release it when words can't. So dance, jump, whatever you do.
When trauma is stored in the body, you can release it through movement when words cannot do it for you. Oh. On that, I think I'll do an interpretive dance. My favorite, thanks to my sit down, Uncle Carlton. Anyway, they're haters. I know I can jam. I'm just saying. So listen, Martha, what do you want? One truth about trauma you want everyone to know?
So trauma doesn't have to define you, but it can motivate you to become the person that God created you to be.
Perfect. It's a great starting point. It's the LAUNCHPAD. Miss Stephanie.
I believe that the light will shine again because it always be that darkness. God made light and darkness, and I'm seeing through that darkness. I'm getting a peephole, and it's getting brighter.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. And that is also a choice, because if you can't find the light switch in your own world, get over to somebody's house that's got the power on. Okay. Nicole?
Mine is that there's a gap in between trauma to triumph. But you have to give yourself permission to play in that gap because it can be a beautiful place. But you have to give yourself permission to step into that gap with the triumph.
I agree. Tracy?
I'm going to say every day is an opportunity for you to reset, reform, refresh, and redefine yourself.
Beautiful. Way to get that brand in. Seema?
I'm gonna say we always ask ourselves, what I need, I just have my 7 feet. What did I do to deserve it? I want you to hear that with, and I don't care what the situation is. If you're gonna ask what I need, ask what? What do I need to do with it? What do I get to remove from it? Why is this happening? What can I do with what's happening?
What can I do?
Pair it with it. Because it's gonna be this. You gotta do something with that. You gotta feel it. But then you gotta do something. So pair it with it. Like you said, get it out of your body. But you gotta pair it with that question, what do I need to do with this?
Yeah. Correct. Absolutely right. Now, that was everyone. Before we get out of here, we got 10 more minutes. I want to bring your attention to one of the reasons we chose to do this today instead of just sitting around eating bagels and fruit. And fruit. And I'm just going to put it out there. This is most likely the last time you get to see me eat on television because the PR person who's now a part of my life is going, those days are over. I got a note. I got the memo. No eating. Also, please, PLZ, don't eat on camera. And a heart, a smiley face, and some other emoji to make me feel like it's a request, but I know it's not. So anyway, I just want to.
Struggle with it, but just don't eat on camera.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do better. I'm being traumatized in real time. So right. So hang around, you guys, so that you can see how I turn that into the antidote. But what I'm really reporting in on is this: the Unbound, September 12th through the 14th, right here where we are sitting now in the Charlotte area. Let me pull Tracy into a solo view. And what we love about this, Jason has, supposedly agreed to be a speaker. Well, Jason, you're going to tell your to be there, right? Oh, I got to turn him up.
Say again.
You are going to do your best to be in person at the Unbound event here in
Absolutely.
Charlotte.
Yep.
September 12th to the 14th. I will be here emceeing, and most of us around this table, if not all of us, will be here. We want you and everyone that you care about to be here as well. It's an in-person event. There are some of the people that you see, and there will be others announced as we get closer to the date. So mark your calendar now, even if it's tentatively. I don't mind being penciled in. Get in where you can fit in, what they say. And Mama, there's a lot of uncharted territory out there. There's a lot of things you can get, gain, and give away through your trauma. Get your hands on a little book called 3 Feet from Gold. It might help you to understand how to keep moving forward until you get across wherever it is you're supposed to be.
Scan the code.
Oh, scan the code, they're saying. That's right there. There you go. And you'll get a special. Oh, okay. There it is. We'll give you guys a change for that. And again, the dates are September 12th through the 14th. This is a beautiful part of the country for those of you who have never been. And we're hoping that this will be the beginning of many of you bringing your conferences, your workshops, your message to the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I'm telling you, I'm headed this way for sure. It's for sure. And in conclusion, we want to remind all of you that, let me just get, Tracy, you feeling picked on there? There we go. I want to thank every person and those of you that have stayed over the few minutes. I think it's amazing. That's 522 of you who said, you know, I can wait to get to Costco, Walmart, or Gucci, depending on where you're headed today. Jason, thank you for running in here, you know, from your show and showing up as always. I appreciate it. My best.
Hey, can I show everybody? Can I show everybody the picture that, and you know, look, that is you and I's relationship for?
Oh wait, let me pull that in. Oh wait.
That is the bumper sticker of Lauren and I's, I don't know, decade or whatever, however long we've known each other now.
Yes, yes, and I love that picture, believe it or not. I really do. I honor you, Jason. Thank you. Jason was, you know, I'm talking about Brad being on the front end. Some people call him baby souls or whatever, but it's the beginning of a new chapter. And that's when Jason came into my life at the very beginning. Can you believe it, Jason? I had 9 years just the other day with E360 TV. And you remember the day I went live in my driveway.
I do.
Thinking it was just going to be invite somebody in. And here we are syndicated and almost a decade later. I think it's good. That's what I mean, you guys. Take everything that you've lived. As Brad referred to the book or the quote, take your mess and find your message. Don't leave anything on the table. As my good friend and a world-renowned speaker, just a good friend to a lot of people in this room, Les Brown told me, to my face, Lauren, all you need to do is live full and die empty. And another thing that Jason Cisneros told me on day one, Lauren, you will be successful at everything you touch if you do 3 things. Number 1, find out what the people you need that you serve need. Number 2, go out and get it. And number 3, bring it back and give it to them. We hope we've filled that promise to you, that expectation for you today. You take it and give it away. Won't you please? Thank you all. Thank you all. And thank you. We'll see you guys on the next one. Don't forget, September 12th through the 14th. We look forward to seeing you right here in the Charlotte area for Unbound. Okay? Get out there and make a difference in the world. It doesn't take much. It only takes one in, one on. You'll take what you already are. From great to greater, bright to brighter, smart to smarter, bold to bolder, and my personal favorite, kind to kinder. Now, I'm going to tell you like I do every day on Bathrobe Moments, 2 things. Do not let my screen door slam on the way out of here. Number 2, remember, Dr. Lauren and all of us here honor you, love you. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. Now get out of here. Have the best day. Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.